I could quit drinking a vodka all day long or a whiskey, but wine to me is what you just said. It's the story, it's the taste, I mean, each wine you have is so different. Vodka to me, yeah, is Chopin different than Belvedere or than Smirnoff? Yes. But when you're drinking a nice bottle of wine and you taste the nuances of the earth and things like that, the grapes are so different from one to the other. I mean, that's what intrigues me about drinking wine.
Sit back and grab a glass. It's Wine Talks with Paul K.
Hey, welcome to Wine Talks with Paul K. And we are at a away game today, way down in Manhattan at Hermosa Beach, about to have a conversation with David Slay, Chef David Slay, a crazy good career in the wine and food business. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is, we crossed paths, easy for me to say, in hot yoga.
We do.
And I saw your shirt one day and I go, I wonder if that's Chef Slay. And it was. And it's taken a little while to get together, but I was so happy to have a chance to sit with you.
Yeah, when I got your email to say you were in town and get together, was looking forward to it.
You'll see more of us. I don't know if that's a good
hot
thing
yoga
or
or
a bad
where?
thing. Yeah, hot yoga. This summer, we have spent more time at the house on 18th Street than we have prior summers. And we're about to knock it down and put 3 stories up and have a place, because it's old. It was like 1945.
Yeah.
And have a place to, I think we land here forever.
Well, this summer was a little bit deceiving. There was not much May gray, very little June gloom. I don't think we were over 80 until the last week or so. So it was a perfect summer.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
The last week was amazing.
Yeah.
No, we were talking a little bit before we started here about wine. And I just had a conversation with a guy named Tim Hanai, who's a master of wine, and he completely blows the lid off and thinks wine food pairing is a hoax and a falsehood in the world of food and culinary experience. But you said something important just before we got on, and that was adapting the consumer, how you're vintnering, how you're making your wines, and what's driving that.
Well, I don't believe he's completely off. I wouldn't say it's a hoax, but I think, as before we started, consumers' taste have changed. I mean, 30 years ago or 40 years ago, you wouldn't have red wine with fish. You wouldn't be drinking a Chablis with the New York steak. I mean, that was, and I think kind of what he may be referring to. Today, anything goes.
Yeah.
It's what you want to drink, and especially the younger consumer that is more into the varietals and the Rhone blends and things like that. So I think it changed with the consumer. But and I see it in the restaurant. When I see a group of guys come in and they're in their 60s and 70s, they're bringing in big Bordeaux's, big Italians, big cabs. And then when you see the younger kids coming in, it's a screw top, it's an orange wine. So it has changed quite a bit, and it's interesting to see.
That is interesting because, yeah, I would do that. I would bring it. In fact, I brought a bunch down here. We have a big party on Saturday at the house, and I brought a bunch of big wines. And I'm interested to hear that I don't know if it's millennials or Gen Zs. I have 3 millennials myself. They tend to drink what I drink. Maybe that's because of Dad. But it's interesting to hear that they bring in orange wines, low alc, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's low alc and we've adapted at the vineyard ourselves. I make wine for what the consumer wants, not for what my taste is. And I've seen the changes over the years to where lower alcohol is important, a little bit lighter. So we shift with it. I mean, I'm not thick-headed enough to say, this is what I want, this is what I drink, and this is what I'm making. I make wine to sell it, and I make it as a business. So I adapt pretty easy.
That's an interesting direction here, because they talk about innovation, the wine business, and there's sort of a balance there, and it sounds like you're making it work. And that is, there's certainly amount of traditionalism in this trade. And if you do have a big Bordeaux, or you go to Bordeaux, you're going to experience that in a pretty, involved way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's consumer driven. We need to sell stuff.
Yeah.
That's what our job is.
The problem is a new study came out today. Alcohol consumption is probably at the lowest it's been since the 50s.
Yeah.
And we see it in the restaurant. It's noticeable. The younger generation, and I was in yoga today talking to guys our age, and all 3 of us were saying about how much even they have cut back. They're not drinking as much as they were. Hard liquor and beer is really taking a hit. Wine still is doing good, but it's dropped quite a bit.
Okay, so a friend of mine owns a restaurant in Silver Lake. Bottle sales off 40% without a commensurate increase in cocktails. Hopefully you haven't seen a 40% drop. In
I
bottle
haven't
sales,
seen
but
a 40% drop here. And Manhattan Beach is a different
yeah, that's
customer
true.
too. So uh, it's it's dropped. It's dropped considerate to where we have cut our wine list down at all 4 restaurants. We at one time, I think we probably had 350 bottles on our list here. We're probably at 150 now.
Wow.
So it's dropped quite a bit still.
That's an interesting perspective because you go to Arthur J and they still have this mile long list.
Yeah, they got a great list.
And it's a great list, but you know Nick obviously.
Yeah.
Patrick, Patrick Q as well.
Yeah.
He's
Patrick's a good guy.
He's a good friend. Yeah.
And he wrote a great book too.
Yes, the haute cuisine.
Yeah.
And another one I think how to be a restaurateur or something.
Yeah, that was pretty recent.
Well, you take a list like that, you take modern consumption, and I'm going to move on from the subject, but it's important to understand because that was an important thing to have. This mile-long list with all the choices. Wine educated people come in, they look at the list, wow, this is a great list, but it's expensive to carry that list.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff doesn't move, who knows? I mean, you have Petrus on your list, that can't be moving every day.
I'll tell you what, no, exactly. The price point, and I just had a Napa winery contact me for a tasting next week. I said, send me all the information. So one bottle, this is our wholesale price, $680 a bottle, $350 and $95.
What?
I answered back. I said that price point just isn't selling today.
No.
I mean, our average bottle of wine is about $165, which is still on the high side.
Yes.
On our reds. For our whites, it's in the 90 to 120. And of our wine list, it's still the 80-20 rule. There's still that pocket of wine that is always selling, and the others sit on a shelf.
How about the Camises, the Silver Oaks, the standard, Dow?
Yeah. Dow has done such a marketing job that, Dow is probably, it's a wonderful story.
They only sell for $1 billion.
Yeah. And their president's a good friend and customer, Manhattan Beach guy, Neb Lukic. So they know him, and that makes a difference. It gets out, the public know it. But the Silver Oaks and the Phelps insignia, those dropped way down.
I'm shocked. It's really interesting to know because I don't think I was looking at a report this morning as well that sales dollars in America has actually up, and that could be the price point of the average bottle price, but consumption is considerably down. It's down.
What did they say the average price is?
They didn't. They just said that it went from so many billion to so many billion.
Oh, yeah.
It was 4% increase in dollars, but 10% decrease in volume, which when you consider like the total volume, it's 10% would be a substantial percentage, but they're still drinking, quite a bit.
I put a $60 bottle of wine on our list. We don't sell it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it's
and it'll be, I won't put a bad wine on the list. It's just,
no, right.
Here, Manhattan Beach is again different. They just jump right to the $100 range, $150 range, but 60, no, we can't.
It's interesting, and I see the Slay brand, and now that I know the pedigree of the wine, Santa Rita Hills, and then fabricated at Dragonette, which is one of my favorite Pinot Noir Chardonnay makers, period. And sometimes branded wines or self-branded wines have a moniker about them. If you, particularly celebrity-based wines that aren't where the celeb's not participating, do you have that? The volume of Slay wines in your restaurant good, and there's their mystique around the idea that it's Slay that works positive or negative?
No, it's 100% positive.
Yeah.
I mean, we built a brand over the years. I'm not new to this. We're involved in the community, our service staff, and our wines are, high quality. I mean, I'll put our Pinot and Chardonnay up against anybody's. So our quality is important. And if, we bring in a boutique winery that someone's not familiar with, we try to get the guests to, try it, enjoy it. A friend of ours from here, the Carpenters, they opened their vineyard, and their first release was to us this year, and they're local, and it's moving well. But it's like anything, you got to sell it.
How many years now with Slay brand?
8 years.
Now it's interesting. This is interesting, and my memory. My father's shop was in Malaga, Palace Fraser Wines and Spirits, Palace Fraser Liquor when he bought it. And back then, 1969 to 70, he sold it in 85. the Barretts lived nearby. The Wetzels, who own Alexander Valley Vineyards, used to come into the shop. There's a lot of history and wine promotion because of the executives of El Segundo's aerospace business. And the personalities, this is what fascinates me, the personalities of Redondo, Hermosa, and Manhattan really haven't changed as the clientele have. Have you seen a change, or do you see a difference between, since your restaurants kind of spread out?
It's funny. So many people tell me people from PV don't come down to Manhattan Beach. People from Hermosa don't come to Manhattan Beach.
Yeah, we don't come down.
Manhattan doesn't go to Hermosa. I'm in our restaurants every day. If I'm not at the vineyard, I'm here every day. And I work the tables, and I've met so many wonderful people from all of the South Bay. I see a lot of people from everywhere. And Hermosa, which is, most people say they don't go to Hermosa. We get a lot of customers from Manhattan Beach, a lot of PV. So I see it differently, but there are people who believe that.
Well, it's the personality, which I think is a good thing. Like, for instance, Hermosa just declined that giant, not giant, but it was a 150-room hotel that was going to be a pier in the Strand, and it had all these bars in it. And that would be typical of the Hermosa Beach citizen to reject the idea of a development.
It's too bad.
I agree with that. I spent 8 years on the planning commission, so I'm for pro-development. But Manhattan might have entertained that, and it would have, if they had the space and
they had the space
existed. So I find that interesting that the personality is kind of maintained. I will say, I love Slay Hermosa. I like the style. I like the fact, that's kind of a risky deal. You took over El Gringo, this institution of lousy Mexican food.
It's funny how many people said they would not go to the restaurant for us taking that over.
Oh, really?
So that was kind of the backlash in the beginning. But Slay Hermosa, it's a wonderful restaurant, a great patio upstairs, but it's too small. We're looking for a bigger space for it. We would like to have a bar and actually more space. So we're actively looking
for space. Yeah. My father, when he had a pharmacy as well in Malaga Cove, and there was a counter, and a Greek guy had a burger joint. And my father was a very sort of proper, he was raised in an English environment, being from Cairo. And so the first thing he did when the really started out was get rid of the burger guy, because he didn't like burger smells. And he said PV never forgave him for that.
All right.
Like El Gringo. You never get forgiven for removing El Gringo from their location. I was there when I lived here in the 80s. It was, they were there. So
I can't tell you how many people come in. I don't know what soup they used to have that they were known for.
Yeah, their chicken soup, the soche. It had soche.
So everyone always asks, why don't you bring the soup back at least? I don't know what it was.
And we make soche at our house all the time because of that restaurant. So, but this is all contemporary history for you. You have how many restaurants in the area now?
We have 4 restaurants.
You have Fête,
which is French Bistro, Slay Steak and Fish, where we are now, Slay Italian Kitchen, and Slay Hermosa, which is our most casual restaurant.
And that's the most recent.
Fête I think we're on 3 years at Fête. Hermosa is about 5.
Pretty brave in this economy and era of restaurant touring, which is the expenses, the permitting, all that's gone through the roof.
Well, I'll tell you, we're over 200 employees.
Wow. That's amazing.
For 4 different leases. It's a high overhead business. The restaurant business is very high overhead. And insurance is through the roof.
Insurance.
Commodities are through the roof. With everything, with anything that's being transported, with gas, even though it's come down, but it's still been a factor with deliveries and charges and things like that. So it's a tough business.
I noticed on my last Southern bill, there was a delivery charge because there was only like 3 cases, and they started charging me. That really made me mad. But that wasn't always the case. This is a family legacy here. It looks like you're more than just one generation of chefs.
Yeah, no, myself, my father, and then my grandparents started. They immigrated from Lebanon in the early 1900s, and they ended up getting in the restaurant business in the late 40s, 50s. And I got interested into it early on.
In L.A.?
In St. Louis. My wife and I are both from St. Louis.
Wow. Do you speak Farsi as well, or do you speak Arabic or anything?
No.
That's interesting. My father's from Cairo.
I heard
all those languages, but
I cook it. But
right. That's great. But did you go to the Habash Cafe when you were?
No,
I used to be on PCH. Because you're French trained. I looked at your resume, and you went to France to learn how to cook, and I think that's like I mentioned, my daughter did too. Do you think that's a necessary step for a young chef to travel the world?
40 years ago, yeah. Today, French chefs are sending their kids to the States. I mean, the restaurants here 40 years ago, I was 20s I was in my 20s, and it was a totally different. The restaurant scene was totally different. Paul Bocuse sent his son to the United States.
Really?
Piero Antonori sent his son to the United States.
Really?
We got some of the best chefs in the world. I mean, you can't talk about food without thinking the United States isn't up there. It is.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with a guy named Vahid Kashgarian. He's a winemaker in Armenia. He makes a great value sparkling wine.
And the oldest wine
The
region
oldest
in the
wine
world.
region in the world, as far
Yep.
well, if you ask them, if you ask the Georgians, it's
Right.
But he was telling me that he owned a restaurant. I met him years and years ago when he owned a restaurant in Berkeley called La Lime, where Alice Waters would go when she didn't want to sit at Chez Panisse. It also was the founding location of the Lone Rangers, Randall Graham and
Yeah.
Robert Haas and those guys that got together and started. I go, what an interesting connection. And now he's got the calling to go to Armenia and make sparkling wine. The reason I brought that up is it matter to, do you think of the historical viewpoint of cuisine, like you just mentioned? These famous people are bringing their kids to America to learn the craft. Do you think, but understanding the history of food and the history of wine is an important piece of,
I mean, to our generation, yes. To the generation today, no.
Huh.
It's, and what I tell anybody that comes to work for us, I believe you can go to, which is one of the great things, you can go to any restaurant in the world on your phone, and you can look at the table setting, you can look at the florals, you can look at the uniforms, the aprons. You can learn so much and be inspired by that. Obviously, the menu, pictures of the food all over.
that's
So
interesting.
I can't emphasize enough to our staff to do that. And I've got a couple of young cooks in the kitchen that's all they do. And it makes me really happy that they're inspired by, it can be Armenia, Spain, Italy, France, Japan, and that they get interested in learning the cuisine and the styles from different countries.
That must feel good
Yeah.
to inspire somebody, because somebody, when my daughter was looking for a cooking school, because she went to pastry school in France, Lyon, and then went to savory school in New York. And I bring that up because we went to, what's the one in Napa? The Greystone.
Greystone.
Yeah, Greystone. And the guy pitched that school like an alternative to college, and you're going to come out of here and you're going to be a food star. And it was kind of like the wrong message, in my opinion. It wasn't one my daughter respected. She wanted to learn how to cook. She wasn't interested in being on the Food Channel or anything. She wanted to learn how to do the business. And I thought, kind of a weak reason. And here you have these kids that come in. Are they trained at all?
This
The
kid I'm
chefs, the
referring
cook?
to was a dishwasher. But
Really?
he got so inspired by being
That's
around what we
great.
were doing, he runs our whole kitchen here now.
That's amazing. That's got
And what bothers me about the schools is when not one kid coming out of there, I shouldn't say one kid, that's a pretty broad statement. Most of them can't figure out an Excel sheet. They can't figure out QuickBooks. They can't figure out anything like that is important to being a chef or being a cook. I mean, you have to know the numbers of everything. It's a business.
Yes, right.
It's just not
Business.
go cook and have fun. It's a business. And this sounds pretty, however you want to take it. It's all about money. If you don't have the money, you can't pay the cooks,
Right.
can't pay the rent. So you have to make money to succeed in the business.
That's-
And it's a hard lesson to learn. I've had my ups and downs, but I've learned from every one of them that
Right.
didn't work. It's very important to know the money part of a restaurant. It's different than anything else.
Are we in a different part of the timeline of a restaurant where, and I was telling my wife this morning, this is almost like New York in some cases. We just spent $60 on breakfast with a tip at the good stuff. It was probably $20, not even 5 years ago, maybe.
I just saw something online about someone going out to dinner and just saying it's just so expensive. It is.
Yeah.
It's so expensive to operate a restaurant. It's so expensive. The rents are, we have one of our locations that they're waiting for our lease to go up so they can increase the rent. It's food. I tell our managers and the chefs that they have to look at every invoice that's going into our food cost calculations and our inventory sheets. I mean, I live and die by a P&L.
Yeah.
And we have to keep that accurate because it changes that much that often. And it's not going down much.
No, it's not going down.
Red meat's probably, again, the highest that's been in a long time.
I did not focus on, but I did see your Southern invoices there. I just happen to recognize the color and the
No,
taste. And that hasn't helped either. The consolidation. How is the consolidation of all the wholesales? Has it made it easier because you write one check for some of the same brands?
Makes it harder.
Makes it harder
because they have consolidated and they feel they have a lock on everything that you possibly want. So therefore,
I'm so glad you said that.
So therefore, if you've got this particular liquor and you weren't buying this one ever, now you got to buy this if you want to get this. It's bullshit.
They block booking. So it's illegal in the film business.
Well, we anyone that plays that game, I tell them, no problem. Here's what you do. Anything that we have from you right now, it will be on the bar tomorrow. Pick it up and take it out of here. And I've done that with 2 purveyors, and I made them get out.
Because it seems to me that having, like, I think part of it, when you had 350 wines in your list, you probably wrote a lot more checks because there were a lot of small distributors back then.
Yeah, and a lot of them have gone to self-distributing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot, they cut out that, whatever they're giving the Southerns or the Wine Warehouse or Breakthrough, whatever they are now, because they, that's a lot of money that they're giving up, and it's hard. Wine business is tough. I mean,
it's really tough.
It's tough, and when you have I keep going back to Southern. They're coming in the door and saying, "Hey, chef, I need a favor. I need a placement. Can you put this on our list? On your list? I need it bad." And you work a rapport with the salespeople, and sometimes you say, "Okay, I can help you out." But then 2 weeks later, they say, "Oh, I got this now. Can you get this? Which one do you want?" Can't put all these things on,
right?
Because there's 12 of you doing the same thing.
I have a similar story in that Southern was my ace in the hole, but I'm talking 1990 something. That guy went to bat for me, and we were buying almost 1,000 cases, maybe even 1,200 cases of red a month, and almost the same white. So we were buying a lot. And so to get that one purchase, they would do you some favors, right? That's the business. But the ABCs tried desperately to keep favors out of the equation, but that's just the way it goes, right? And then the rep changed, and the next guy, his name was Mike Bartley, did a great job too. I was doing $500,000 a year with him, just the one vendor. Next guy comes in, I dropped down to like $10,000 a year. And the next time I ordered, I was on COD. And I'm thinking to myself, all that credit I built up with you guys is nothing. And then Young's took over from that position of being my friend and going to bat for me. And literally the day she retired, March 31st, 2023, which is when I retired from the wine business, all that's dried up again, because the relationships were over. It's still driven by that.
Yeah, it's funny. The shuffle in all the companies, it's all about relationships, and the management is putting it all on the salespeople now. I mean, they've eliminated so many upper management positions that were the ones that can make things happen, and they put the salespeople in a bad position because they just beat them to get out there and sell and get this product out and then
get the super well.
Yeah, and the next week it's the next one. So
they leverage the well against the wine, and the wine is their whole thing. So why did you go to Paris? Going back to that. You said that was important back then.
Yeah. Back then, I mean, I was young. It was right after my father passed away, and it was just a time I needed to get away and, focus on cooking and getting my head in a different place. So that's why I ended up going there.
Because, Patrick Q worked in Paris as a chef. He won't call himself chef, but he did it.
He's a wonderful person.
He's a great guy. So, but I think this is the part that's interesting, and we didn't discuss if you have kids or not, but there's something to me about the Ferdinand Point, the Trois Gros brothers, the Ducasse, Bocuse, and the evolution of food in Europe with this legacy. And we don't seem to have that as much in America. My wife's cousin owns a restaurant in Pasadena that's been there 35 years. That's, probably the longest standing restaurant tour I know.
Well, which way do you mean?
Well, so I guess the question is more like, is that influence moving forward an important part, or is American cuisine really, that's part of the DNA, which is we're going to build a restaurant, we're going to make the money we want to make. Let's just take.
I think California cuisine changed the world.
It
my
did, yeah.
opinion. Everything. Italy, France, Spain. I mean, vegetables were never front and center in anything.
Yeah.
Freshness of, ingredients. It was always, use a tomato no matter where you were. Paris, Italy, use a tomato year round. Until Alice Waters, Wolfgang, Jeremiah Tower, and guys like that started changing how food was served. I believe that changed everywhere. I saw it when I worked in France, how it started evolving, and then start traveling there. California made a huge footprint on cuisine all
Talking
over.
about that era, sort of the 80s,
Yeah.
where Alice was, and then what's her name? The one that owns Moza.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a friend of her boyfriend, and I can't remember her name now. She's supposed to come on the
Nancy
show.
Silver.
Nancy Silver. Yes. Well, the reason I bring that up is because I think the story is as important. Wine is about the story. And I think when it comes to wine, selling wine, that the story is really what's happening. There's so many brands. You're talking about the Gen Z is not drinking the old classics. They're bringing in things like Winey Baby and these other brands, and White Claw and all those competitive beverages to wine. And I'm thinking that wine only has, besides that ethereal value of a good glass of wine, which I think every generation comes to once finally. But up until that point, it's about the story. It's like, what can we tell somebody?
All right. So this guy told me today that he pretty much quit drinking booze. The trend, he's just, to me, yeah, I could quit drinking a vodka all day long or a whiskey, but wine to me is what you just said. It's the story, it's the taste, each wine you have is so different. Vodka to me, yeah, is Chopin different than Belvedere or than Smirnoff? Yes. But when you're drinking a nice bottle of wine and you taste the nuances of the earth and things like that, the grapes are so different from one to the other. That's what intrigues me about drinking wine.
It does connect.
Yeah.
It is an expression. And I don't think that the Gen Z wines, like the orange wines, are necessarily depart from that. What bothered me about them in the beginning was they all tasted like kombucha, and they were just an excuse not to make good wine, because you can make good orange wine. You can filter it, and you can have a quality wine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that eventually, and my kids now, I have, she's 35, 32, and 29 or something. They get it. They don't go to the cheap glass of wine. They want something that's gonna make them feel good, and we send them back because sometimes the bottles have been open too long. We just do that. Do you have a psalm? Do you have psalms here?
We don't. Someone needs somebody. They usually, our staff is pretty well trained at all the restaurants.
How do you do that?
But just experience. We hire experience. We don't hire anyone that's not experienced as a server.
Yeah.
They have to have wine knowledge. They have to have liquor knowledge, and obviously service knowledge. So at anyone that needs something, they usually get me.
So this is one of the expressions, you've probably heard it. We need to change the language of wine. I kind of beat this dead horse, but I still have to do it, because we went to a restaurant the other day in Hermosa, and the wine list was sorted by style. And my wife likes Bordeaux varietals. As much as I try to stump her with Syrahs and things like that, and she likes Pinot Noir as well. But I got to look through bold and vivacious, light and airy, and I had to look through every category to make sure I wasn't missing something that was categorized for thing.
Because a Pinot could be in all three of those categories.
Could be. So kind of a cap. But so what's your thought on that? And is there any value to not dumbing it down? I don't think that's the right word, but to changing the way people explain or talk about it.
I think that's exactly what people are trying to do. Change the way, get a hook into someone that's different than the traditional. That's part of what I see going in the restaurant business in general. Everyone's trying to figure a new way to get the customer, because bottom line, we're all restaurants, and it depends on what you want to eat. Do you want steak? Do you want Italian? Do you want fish? Do you want whatever it may be? So when there's so many choices, people are trying to find a way of distinguishing what makes you want to go there than here.
Well, you covered all the bases. You've got the casual restaurant, you've got the steakhouse in Manhattan, you've got an Italian place in Manhattan, and you have a French place in.
So back to our original conversation earlier. Why did I do it? if I wasn't going to do an Italian, someone else
Someone's
would.
gonna do
If
it.
I wasn't going to put a French bistro,
Right.
someone else would.
Was it fun opening Fete because it's French and you?
Yeah,
worked
no,
that-
Fete was a lot of fun. It's a great looking restaurant. It's got so many. The open windows are wonderful, especially this time of year. We've got a beautiful bar, so yeah, it's a fun restaurant.
I just had dinner. Well, actually, we went to dinner the other night to the new Italian place on Pier Avenue, Stecca.
Oh yeah,
Stecca? Yeah.
Second.
And more importantly, I took a young intern. This is kind of going back to your dishwasher, and I'm very proud of this. She was my intern, and she wrote all the talking points for this show before AI. And I had her in the first summer when she was writing the talking points when I had a female winemaker on, being a hot subject in the wine trade right now. And she ended up going to enology school in Cornell.
Oh, wow.
She's going into her third year this year, and we got her a internship at Chateau Bailly in Pessac-Léon. And the glee, the inspiration she drew from doing this internship, the stagiaire, was really quite heartwarming for me. I feel like I accomplished something by just getting one person interested in the trade and what we do. And you had the chance to do it to a lot of people.
Yeah, I've been fortunate. I've had a lot of kids that worked under me that are very successful, either with their own restaurants or chefing or whatever it may be. But yeah, I'm proud of that. And it's I just came back from St. Louis for a family trip, and so many of the restaurants I went to, I see these kids that had worked for me, and now they're adults and have their own business. It's pleasing. I enjoy that part of it.
What do you try to instill? I mean, I know you try to inspire them, and you can't force feed them the inspiration. And so when they leave here, what do you hope? What lesson do you think they hope?
I hope they see my dedication to what I do. I don't cut corners on anything. We repaint the restaurant 3 times a year completely to keep it fresh, keep the carpets clean, little things like that. Redo our flowers, twice a week, and just instill a work ethic and be committed. Because if you're just doing it for a year or two, you're wasting the restaurant's time and you're wasting your own time. But it's a business you really have to be committed to.
The passion, which is in the wine business too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't have the passion,
I believe any business you have to have the passion, but the restaurant business, the grind of the restaurant business, and that's changed a lot. I mean, I do believe the 40-hour week is pretty normal in our business, at least in our company it is. And the
that's been the case all the time. 60-hour weeks.
Well, 60. That was part-time.
I mean, that's a interesting distinction. The French have a 35-hour week. Maybe they're fighting for 30 now.
That is
And how about this no tax on tips? How's that feel to your staff?
It's my understanding it's on your first $25,000 of earnings. And then after that, you're taxed.
Total earnings or
Total
tipped earnings?
Tipped earnings. You still are taxed on your hourly.
Yeah.
And then whatever tips you make up to $25,000 is the way we understand it.
But did that feel good to a restaurateur to at least show that relief to your staff, or non-issue?
Well, it's too early to tell.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how the staff, if they really see the difference on their check.
You pull tips here?
We do.
And some goes to the back house?
We just started the full pull 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
The first of the month here.
And so that wasn't part of your regular DNA prior to that?
Pay well.
Pay well.
Pay well.
Pay well.
I mean, I had a restaurateur after we opened here 7, 8 years ago call me up. He says, "Can I talk to you? Can you meet me? I want to talk to you." I says, what's going on? He said, "Rumor has it," now this is 8 years ago, "you're paying your dishwashers $18 an hour." Minimum wage was $14.50 then or something like that. I says, "Yeah." He says, "What are you thinking?" I says, "I don't want turnover." I said, "If they're doing a good job, I'll keep paying them more."
Yeah, right.
And sure enough, 8 years later, the dishwasher is still here. Our cleaning crew is still here. It's not worth it.
It's too hard.
If I made an extra $40,000 a year a restaurant, it's not going to change my life. If they can make that extra money, I'm happy for them to make it.
Well, how about the cost of retraining somebody and starting all over?
Absolutely. I can't stand turnover.
That's really hard.
Yeah. It's the
Oops.
most, it's so costly.
Yeah. You want to retire into the wine trade?
No. That couldn't be in a worse business right now, other than the restaurant business.
Yeah.
I just see what all these wineries are going through right now. It is so tough.
Yeah.
And just for everything we talked about, less drinking, less bottles of wine on the list. It's just, it's so tough. There are wines, which I won't mention, that 10 years ago, they would never discount. They would never, today, buy 2 cases and you're going to get it, 25% off, or get 6 bottles of X. It's a bloodbath out there in the wine business.
During COVID, what happened here during COVID?
Open, close, open, close. We were closed mostly.
That's when they had the outdoor seating too, though, at some point.
2020, right? Yeah. Yeah. We had outdoor seating up until whatever, 2 years ago, 3
Yeah.
years ago.
So at the Wine of the Month Club, we had, during COVID, Camus showed up and Silver Oak showed up. They would have never come because they didn't need me. They had all on premise. They didn't need the guy, even though, and I was selling 1 liter Camus bottles for $140, and I couldn't keep it in stock.
Oh, sure.
And my allocation was 18 bottles a week.
Oh.
Till they ran out. Now I have like 9 cases still in stock because the moment COVID was over, it stopped, and now you can buy it for $79, $89.
Oh, yeah. They're very aggressive with Camus now.
So it's interesting that I think part of this, the palate, and I think part of it's just the consumption level. But the point I was going to make was they wanted nothing to do with me as a online wine vendor. And even though I was established and 50 years, the company was 50 years old at the time, they wanted nothing to do with it. And so it was strictly who can sell the wine. And then all of a sudden they come crawling back. And I said, I'll buy it, but you got to make sure you stick with me after this is over. But then after it was over, I couldn't sell it to save my life.
As you know, the Wagner family is probably some of the best marketers in the wine world.
Yeah.
And they are.
Talk about block booking.
Sure.
I had to buy, what was it, Seasun Pinot or something. I had to buy so many cases to get access to something else. It was crazy. So what's next? You got another restaurant coming up?
We're kicking around trying to get Orange County back open, and that's 2
Really?
restaurants there.
What was that down there?
Park Avenue and Hill Garage in Stanton.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
we opened those in 2005, and we've been closed since COVID. And I was doing that commute back and forth for 20 years from here to Orange County. It was 45 minutes to an hour back and forth each way. So we're kicking that around about reopening. We've been talking to the city. The city wants it open pretty bad. It's it was a true destination location, and we drew from everywhere, but the neighborhood has really changed and grown, and crime is way down there, and population's increased, and the average income family has increased. So it's a pretty good area, and it's a very unique restaurant. It's 2 restaurants. One would be similar to Slay Steak and Chop, and the other was similar to Slay Italian on the same property. It was an old dairy farm. We had a beautiful private park.
Very cool.
We did weddings and caterings and a garden in the back that we grew a lot of our vegetables there. But it's the area I think could take care of it now. When COVID hit, we didn't think we would stand a chance.
It's still available. It's your property.
I have a partner there, and he owns the property for 100 years.
Yeah. So my dad, when we lived in PV, and his main shop was in Palos Verdes, and the wine shop was there, but he also had a pharmacy in Inglewood, Linwood, and 2 in Montebello. And when he handed the car off to me, finally, just like, son, I'm moving, and you take the car. It had 330,000 miles on it. Do you have a routine, even just locally,
I had a Prius. So I'd fill it up once a week, and I was set.
But just the routine of visiting each restaurant, making sure everybody's doing it right.
So it's interesting, yes, that a lot of people do. On my phone, I have Open Table.
Yep.
And I see, I look at that 100 times a day, each restaurant, who's going in, before in the morning, in the afternoon, and then before service. I'll see who's at which restaurant and what timing, and I make it to all the restaurants. I go around to all of them.
How important are those reviews, Yelp, Resi, Foursquare, all those reviews. I have friends that rely on them exclusively. I don't rely on them, except I do like Michelin Guide because it's a focused group of people that that have some kind of standard. I mean, I don't know if some guy comes here and doesn't like their steak or loves it. I don't know who that person is.
I don't follow
You
any
don't
of it.
manage it.
I don't ask my staff to. I believe we give 110% effort. That's the best we can do.
Yeah.
We serve thousands of people a week. Are we going to please everybody? We will sure try,
Yeah.
but I know we won't.
You can't. Yeah.
But I don't have enough complaints from customers to where I need to rethink what we're doing. But will we fall short sometimes? Yes, and it really bothers me. And we'll go out of our way to win the guest over, whether we invite them back as our guest or comp their check or whatever it is. I don't like complaints, and I don't ever doubt a customer and sit and argue with them over, is that medium rare or not? If they don't, if it's not to them, I'll, redo it.
Because in the wine trade, it's the same thing. And it's very funny. My mother, when she was selling the wine of the month club with my dad, she would just not tell people that you could cancel any time, which is a function of the club. And I was like, no, Mom, you got to tell them you can cancel any time because that makes them motivated and that you will fix their problems. You'll make them right. You'll make it right. I can't please all the palates all the time with the stuff I bought and sold. Like a Pool de Panay. I mean, who's going to know what that is? But it's a great wine. I should expose them. But then if it's a problem, fix it. And that usually earns. In fact, one of the original functions of social networking, Facebook in particular, was the ability to publicly fix a complaint. So if somebody complains online, you have the opportunity to respond and show everybody that reads that complaint that you're involved and you're participating in the fix. And I think that's really important to this industry.
Yeah, the customer has a lot of choices, especially at our price point at all of our restaurants. So I put faith in, what their belief. If they have a complaint, I attack it if they're correct.
One of the things that we noticed, and because we're a little tuned to the industry, my daughter and wine, of course, is, you can tell rather in short order when you walk into a restaurant and taste maybe the appetizer or taste the food that it's fresh, that it's from quality ingredients. And to highlight the exception to that, my daughter was living in Potsdam, New York. Okay. It's not the edge of the world, but right across the street, you can see it. There's nothing there. Which is kind of bizarre because the restaurants, they're terrible. But as a mother, my daughter would go to the farm to buy her vegetables. They're all seasonal. She would go to the dairy to get her raw milk for her babies. And you go to the orchard and pick your apples. So I'm trying to figure out why the restaurants don't do that, because you really can't eat the food in most of the restaurants there. It's really
I was just up when I was up the vineyard last week or earlier this week, and we grow a lot of our own food. And right now we're in the peak of tomato season because June and July up there were pretty chilly. So we just started with tomatoes maybe 3 weeks ago. And I'm at a restaurant up there that's saying all fresh seasonal vegetables, blah, blah. It came out the most underripe tomato, horrible looking lettuce. I'm thinking, what are they thinking? They've got
salad or
the salad.
Yeah.
And it could be, people, when tomatoes are done for the season, we're done with them.
Yeah.
When squash blossoms are done for the season, we're done with them. And
so important.
I've always cooked like that though. Even going back when I started in my 20s in St. Louis, always cooked seasonal, always cooked fresh. I think it's, especially younger people today, that's what they want. And
that is very French though, to do that.
Yeah. Or very Italian as well. You go to a lot of the outskirts or in Chianti or Montepulciano. It's so refreshing to see a little restaurant with a garden in the back and they're bringing tomatoes in for your lunch or dinner. But I want to go back to what you said about wine clubs. You were saying your wife.
Yes.
That has seen the biggest drop in the wine industry. People aren't committing $400 a month or $200 a month to get their wine. And they're realizing that sometimes they're getting wine they don't even want. It's not curated by, someone that knows what they're doing. They're getting a mix of wines that are all over. But that has seen a huge drop.
I didn't sell it because I was making too much money. and I'll say honestly, for the listeners too, the premise of that club in 1972, for my father at the wine shop was he tasted so much wine to pick the best 2 wines he felt for that month, put them on display for a month, and then rotate it. People left Palos Verdes, particularly the aerospace guys, went to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and said, send us wines because we like your selections. When it got to larger, and I'll just tell you a little briefly history, in 1984, he moved it to a little bungalow in King Harbor and would pack for a week and then bill for a week and then leave. When I bought it and moved it to Arcadia in 1988, it was really founded on the Trader Joe's formula at the time, which was finding odd lots of good wines that were properly made, branded for that sale, branded to represent the winery and the people that made it. And what was happening toward the end here were these 50 cent a liter, 20,000 liter bladders coming in from Spain of just crap being bottled under a bunch of brands, and the wine clubs that were buying them up at $2.50 or $3 a bottle and putting them out there at 15.
Yeah.
How long can you fool the customer like that?
Unfortunately, that's what you see in so many restaurants today, and it really pisses me off when I see that. And I know what some of these wines that they're running on a special that are $5 and $7 that are on a list for 85 or 110, and there's I see it and it just really bothers me.
We were at a restaurant in Pasadena, Italian place, just a couple of years ago, and the bottle came. The maitre d' recommended it, and it was corked. And he came to me, he goes, "No, it's not, sir." I go, "No, it is. It's corked. I mean, smell it." He goes, "Nah, there's nothing wrong with it." So he wouldn't even offer anything. So then the table next door had a glass of it, and he just opened a fresh bottle. I said, "Bring that bottle over. Let's pour it against this one." And so he poured a little taste. I said, "They're different." He goes, "No, they're not. They're the same." He said, "But I'll give you the rest of this bottle." Okay, I got on my phone because I have all my notes from all the things I tasted. I just tasted that particular brand, and they offered it to me for $7,
No, I see it all the time.
and they're charging $45. Even if the guy gave me a fresh bottle, it's only 14 in it.
But that's not even.
That's
even
not
that
right.
part. The supplier takes it back.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Any bad bottle, there's
take it
no
back.
question asked.
Right.
So when a customer says, I hate to do this, I don't hate to do it. I send it back to them and they'll replace it.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Well, I don't go to the restaurant anymore. So,
Well, I wouldn't either.
we've already been 50 minutes. Oh my gosh. This has been a pleasure to talk shop with you.
Likewise.
Time kind of went fast. Hope to see you in hot yoga soon.
Get in there.
And
Can eat and drink more.
I have to, but I've got to ride so I can be in the triathlon next year. And I got to run, which I haven't done for a long time. So it's going to be a balance of riding, running, and yoga.
But what you'll find out, the more hot yoga you do, those become easier
Yes.
because that's
you're right.
so hard.
You're right. There's, it's interesting. There's a cardio component to it
Oh, yeah.
because you like the sweat and sculpt thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, which is my favorite too, because I can't get into some of those yoga positions. Well, anyway, it's been a pleasure. Cheers.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and thanks for having me.
See you soon.
All right.